Hi, welcome back to Focal Point Amper Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. I'd take your phone calls at this point, 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. I'm happy to have you call in on any of the topics that we've addressed in this program. Sort of the moral decline of America, a loss of influence around the world. 888-589-8840, by the way, the number to call, 888-589-8840. We had Randall Murphy talking about how people around the world are alarmed and concerned and anxious about what they see happening in America. And they are now praying for America as we once prayed for them. So our light flickering, in danger of being hidden under a bushel. Got a comment or reaction to that? Love to hear from that. Monica Cole, 1 Million Moms, talking about the further declension in network programming. This on cable, the Hub Network, owned by Hasbro Toys. They want you to buy Monopoly. They want you to buy Candyland. They want you to buy Chutes and Ladders. Meanwhile, they're out there running this cartoon, which started airing on Saturday, called Shizao. It's about transvestitism. It's about transsexualism. It's about a boy who magically turns into a girl with superhero powers. He's a guy. That's his name is Guy. He becomes a she, as in Shizao. So here is Hasbro, My Little Pony. My daughter grew up on My Little Pony. Hasbro wants you to watch Shizao, wants your kids. I mean, their target audience, kids between the ages of 2 and 11, and this is a blatant attempt to normalize transsexualism and transvestitism. Here you got a guy wearing women's clothing. They've got some other cartoon representations of this character, but you don't know if it's a guy or a girl. So it's a clear effort to normalize another expression of sexual perversity on the part of Hasbro. And they know that these programs influence decisions. That's why they have a network devoted to hawking their products, because they know that what people see, particularly kids between the ages of 2 and 11, what they see on television influences what they ask for their birthdays, what they ask for Christmas. So glad to have you weigh in on that. The Boy Scouts, now we're seeing the Boy Scouts marching in uniform, in their uniform. Completely contrary to Boy Scout policy. They don't care. They've defied orders to do it. They have directly defied their own scout leaders to do this thing. Boy Scout policy says you will not use the Boy Scout uniform in the service of political or social causes. They're out there doing it, holding these gay pride banners. Got the Mormon, members of the Mormon Church out there doing this. We haven't heard anything from the LDS leadership. Boy Scout headquarters saying we're not going to do a blessed thing about these scouts marching in uniform, desecrating the Boy Scout uniform in these gay pride parades. So be interested in what you think about all of that. So let's grab some phone calls. Let's start with Kurt in Grants Pass. Kurt, welcome to Focal Point. What's on your mind?
Good afternoon, Brian. Thank you for taking my phone call.
You bet.
I just got through talking and left a message for Randy Sharp. Who's doing the homosexual? It's the heterosexual people that are not taking a stand.
That's correct.
And I have a book by Janet Folger. I think she published it in 2005, Criminalization Christianity. And that's what's happening. The Christians are being the criminals. And you're talking about the Mormon Church not taking a stand. Well, I just heard on AFR earlier today, the Lutheran Church is now ordaining homosexuals into the church, into the pastorate.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And so I'm just, as I told the pastor's wife, as I was thinking about this over the weekend, it's the heterosexuals that are letting the homosexuals take over, and through Christian and the church is being quiet about it. So I don't know, pray, and thank you, Brian, for your time and your program.
All right, Kurt, listen, I appreciate your call. Thank you for that. You know, and Kurt's exactly right. We've got the federal government saying, hey, if you run a business, you have to be Sharia compliant. You have to accommodate any preference that a Muslim has in your employment situation. You have to accommodate. You have to surrender your own principles to enable him to be comfortable. You have to be the one that makes all the accommodations. Meanwhile, if you're a Christian florist in Seattle, you're a criminal if you don't provide a floral arrangement for a homosexual wedding, despite the fact that it represented her deeply held convictions and despite the fact that she wanted to run her business on Christian principles. No accommodation for her, no allowance for her, zero tolerance for the Christian. Attorney General of the state of Washington coming after her, not just a some gay activist filing suit against her. This is the Attorney General of the state of Washington coming after her to persecute her for her Christianity. Let's go to Lee in Blueville, Virginia. Lee, welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher. What's on your mind?
Yes, sir. I seen a good church sign the other day. It said, "Never pick up the devil hitchhiking. He'll always end up wanting to drive." That's exactly what's going to happen to the Boy Scouts.
Well, it's already happening, isn't it, Lee?
Yeah, and I got one other comment, and this is going to irritate a lot of people. But, you know, I watched that History Channel series on the Bible.
Uh-huh.
Before that come on, they had Roma Downey and her husband on the Today Show on NBC Network, which is very liberal, promoting that series. And I watched the Sodom and Gomorrah series to make sure, and they left homosexuality out of that. You would have thought it was just a city of drinking and prostitution. And they was not true to the spirit of the Bible in that series, in my opinion. If you know the Bible, it might have been all right. If you didn't know the Bible, they misled people.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right, Lee. I appreciate that. Thank you for that. You know, and much of it was true to the text and was accurate, but on that Sodom and Gomorrah episode, Lee is exactly right. They biffed it completely on that. Just cowardice, frankly. Didn't want to take on the homosexual lobby. They would have been better off to skip the Sodom and Gomorrah story altogether than to do what Lee talked about here, is misrepresenting it and distorting the biblical record. I saw that opening episode. I saw the Sodom and Gomorrah segment. You'd have no idea. You have no idea from watching that segment that the fundamental sexual sin of Sodom and Gomorrah was homosexual conduct. You wouldn't even know it. You wouldn't even know that these men were surrounding the house because they wanted to have sex with Lot's guests. You wouldn't even know that. So they just, again, cowered by the homosexual lobby, even before the homosexual lobby had even registered a complaint. Let's go to Reggie in Cherryvale, Kansas. Reggie, welcome to Focal Point. What's on your mind?
Hi, Brian. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Well, I'm steamed. This whole Boy Scout deal's got me so mad. I've got a 9-year-old, and I was kind of looking forward to him being a scout. I was a Girl Scout until I graduated high school. But,
so how does this news affect what your plans are for your 9-year-old?
Well, he won't get anywhere near the Scouts.
Well, good for you. Now,
perhaps they won't get anywhere near him. I have a question about I had a couple questions. I tried to look up 1 Million Moms a while back to get involved in some things, and if I'm not mistaken, it said they were for gun control. Is that true?
No. That's an interesting thing. I'm glad you called, Reggie, so we can clarify that up. There was an organization that started, and they tried to hijack the 1 Million Moms name. They called themselves 1 Million Moms for Gun Control. They were basically an anti-Second Amendment organization, and they were trying to hijack on the profile of the 1 Million Moms name. Monica's done a great job. She's gotten a lot of press coverage from mainstream media over the efforts that she's made. They were just trying to hijack. And so we had to intervene, Reggie. We talked to them, and they agreed to drop that name. They've now adopted a completely different name altogether. So that 1 Million Moms for Gun Control has absolutely nothing to do with our 1 Million Moms or AFA, and now they've dropped that name. So 1millionmoms.com, it's safe.
Okay, that's good to know then. My other thought was I learned from Brian Fisher a few years ago that when Hitler started his army, he recruited queer individuals because they were more mean than than regular men. And, you know, we've got queers in the Army now. Now they've taken over our Boy Scouts. I think people better wake up.
Well, Reggie, and I appreciate your call. Thank you for that. And we're going to arrange to have Scott Lively on this program. He wrote the book, The Pink Swastika. And he has an extensive discussion in his history of the rise of homosexualism in Nazi Germany, about the role that scouting played in Germany in the early part of the 20th century. Scouting was big, not the Boy Scouts, not our Boy Scouts, their own version of Boy Scouts called the Wandervogel, which is wandering youth, wandering boys, called them wandering boys, the Wandervogel, because they would go on hikes and go on camping trips. But it was just a major homosexual recruiting effort. That's the whole. Now, the Boy Scouts, started by Baden-Powell, weren't that at all. He was a Christian, and there was no sense of homosexual advance, a homosexual agenda, nothing of that sort in the Boy Scouts. But in the German version of it, their own independent, standalone version, homosexuality had a lot to do with their scouting program. We'll have Scott Lively on to talk about that. And, you know, when Randy Sharp was talking about the fact that this Boy Scout, 18-year-old Eagle Scout, was out there very militaristic. Remember that? Randy used the word militaristic, and he was barking orders. He was like like a soldier in command. And that just made me flash back immediately to the scouting movement in Nazi Germany and how the homosexual movement in Nazi Germany led to the creation of the Nazi Party and Adolf Hitler, who we know from what we talked about last week, his own doctor said Adolf Hitler was a homosexual taking massive injections of female hormones when he was being taken care of by these two doctors. All right, Reggie, thank you for that call. Appreciate that. And, you know, Reggie, you might want to keep your eyes on onmyhonor.net. Go to onmyhonor.net. That's an organization that's working on developing an alternative to the Boy Scouts of America. Same values that the organization had from 1910 until 2013, just 11 days ago. 888-589-8840. Last call of the hour. Let's go to Jamie, Fayetteville, North Carolina. Jamie, got about 30 seconds. What's on your mind?
I was just going to tell you, there already is a very well-established alternative to the Boy Scouts, and it's through the Assemblies of God, Royal Rangers. You may have heard of them.
Yes.
They're very, very well-established, and I'm the commander of a local troop, not in Fayetteville, but outside. But it's a wonderful program and very Christ-centered. We put Christ in the center of every lesson, and it's very, very similar. Even the dress attire is similar to what Boy Scouts use, but it definitely is nowhere.
That's terrific, Jamie.
I was just going to say that there's already and they're not, you don't have to be in the Assemblies of God to be in the Royal Rangers. You can be chartered up.
Great, terrific.
Any church, any denomination.
Well, listen, Jamie, I appreciate that very much. I got to let you go because we're out of time. But Royal Rangers, Assemblies of God, the Southern Baptists have Royal Ambassadors, so there are alternatives already in existence. We've got them posted on our website at afa.net. We got a whole website devoted to alternatives to scouting. Royal Rangers on that list. Focal Point AFR Talk back after the news.